Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The next call by my list is a green call.
Thank you, Mr.
And it is a 5-minute call. You're seeking the call, Mr. Hay?
Yeah, Mr.
Kevin
Speaker,
Hay.
I'd love to seek it. Thank you very much. By my reckoning, it was another 2 calls away. But, Mr. Speaker, I've recently had a series of questions for a written answer directed to all Cabinet Ministers, asking them what meetings they have held with the organisation Crosby Textor, who, of course, we know is an organisation that in the UK has had a very close relationship with the UK government, lots of contact with UK ministers, and has also been representing the tobacco industry. So it seems certainly a relevant question to ask here. And I haven't got all of the answers back yet, Mr. Speaker, but some of them have been of the form, I have not met with Crosby Textor, and good on those ministers. There are other ministers who have responded, I have not met Crosby Textor in my ministerial capacity. And of course that's technically a sound answer, but it does beg the question, doesn't it, Mr. Speaker, of what capacity they may have met Crosby Textor in. And indeed, one suspects that they may have met Crosby Textor in their capacity as members of a political party that is desperate to retain power at any cost. And I'm interested, of course, in analysing what the advice Crosby Textor may have given on the basis of this government's actions. And it seems like a simple plan. For one part of the plan is to demonise and penalise those members of our society that the government believes its voters don't like. And that's why we've seen the beneficiary bashing. That's why we've seen the rhetoric against workers and against unions. That's why we've seen the ongoing rhetoric about being tough on crime. That's actually where this government comes from. It believes that its voters don't like those things, and so that's what it talks about. Another strand of the strategy has got to be a bunch of measures aimed at advantaging the National Party's mates. That's why we've seen the weakening of worker protections, the lowering of wages, weakening of environmental protections. That's all about driving down the costs of business at the expense of our environment, at the expense of labour, which of course is working people. That's why we've seen tax cuts for the rich. That's why we've seen some of the appalling cronyism in this last term of government. One thinks, for example, of the appointment of Susan Devoy as race relations conciliator without ostensibly any qualifications whatsoever for that role. That's why we've seen this gross abuse of a proper process around the Sky City Convention Centre deal. The appointment of Ian Fletcher as the head of GCSB, the Prime Minister's childhood friend, a person who was not even shortlisted for the role. That sort of cronyism is another part of this government's plan. Speaking of the GCSB, we are in this House at the moment debating the GCSB bill, a bill that, amongst other things, greatly expands the role of the GCSB into economic areas, and that serves a chilling intrusion into the rights of New Zealanders. On all of the other issues, besides the ones that are about demonising National's opponents and advantaging its mates, so areas like economy, health, education, National approaches those on a basis of political ideology.
So I'll just pause you here because I'm working off a list which has another green call further on. I'm not sure if that's the one you assumed, whether it's a 5 or 10 minute call. Do you have another green speaker?
Yes, we do.
Right, then you are a 5-minute call.
How long do I have, Mr. Speaker?
1 minute.
Thank you very much, sir. So all other issues are approached purely from the point of political ideology, and sir, that is not in the interest of New Zealanders. Where has all the rhetoric gone about rebalancing the economy? Where is the rhetoric now about the underclass in New Zealand? We don't hear that anymore. And we ask ourselves the question, who actually is this government for? And the answer, sir, is this government is for its mates. This is not a government for New Zealanders. It's not a government intended to advantage this country now or in the long term. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are we going to have another call? Wake up, Mr. Okenvold.
I had understood. I had understood.
The member hasn't called yet. Would he like to call?
Mr. Speaker.
I call the